All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the last call. I'm Riley Stapleton here with a very conflicted Christian McDonald. He's got a Royals hat on, but a Cardinals picture in the background. So,
Hey man, look. I got family in Kansas City and family in St. Louis. I had the right to be able to wear two different hats, but we all know Kansas City a little bit better than St. Louis.
yeah, definitely not just in my kitchen. But so yeah, we're back with last call where we're talking about everything going on with SEC football. This is the third episode. First episode, we just talked about some news around the league, and then last Saturday we did a second episode, kind of recapping. So here we are with the third episode. We'll hopefully see you again on Saturday night with some results of everything that we're about to talk about on this episode. So I guess we could probably just get right into it with the slate of games this weekend. We've got Kentucky, Alabama, Florida, Vanderbilt, LSU, Arkansas, Tennessee, Georgia, and hopefully Missouri, South Carolina, if that one doesn't get postponed, but we'll get into that. So we can start with Kentucky against Alabama. Christian, what are you thinking about that game? What are your predictions?
Kentucky enters this game at 3-4, and Alabama, the number one ranked team, at 6-0. The spread is looking like Alabama at 30.5 points. Alabama really has two Heisman contenders that are very, very impressive. Mac Jones, the junior from Jacksonville, has really had a great year. I didn't know how he was going to play this year, following up Tua, who was really a historical quarterback for Alabama. But Mac Jones really has put up Heisman numbers. Right now, he's second in nationally in QBR. He's thrown for over 2,000 yards, 16 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But what really has been impressive has been his accuracy at 78%. So really, with Mac Jones leading the way, to Najee Harris being a physical runner, averaging over 5 yards per carry, 14 touchdowns. Alabama has the ability to either take shots down the field with Mac Jones throwing it to Devontae Smith and the slew of weapons they have, or going to Najee Harris, giving him the ball 20 to 30 times. So really, what sticks out to me about Alabama is how are they going to attack Kentucky defensively wise, but really they're led by two Heisman contenders. And looking at Kentucky, they do have a really good defense, but they struggle against Vanderbilt, who is god-awful. I don't even know how they're even in the SEC. They gave up 35 points to Vanderbilt. If you figure about 35 points to Vanderbilt, then what are you going to do against Alabama? So for my prediction, I'm taking Kentucky to cover the spread, not necessarily lose by more than 30, but give me Alabama by more than 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said. Alabama's biggest weakness this season has obviously been their defense. It hasn't been a typical Crimson Tide defense, but Kentucky, outside of the Vanderbilt game, which that's Vanderbilt, they've had virtually no offense. They don't look like they are confident in one quarterback yet. I mean, they just have nothing on that side of the ball. So I don't think Alabama's defense will even struggle, and I know that their offense probably won't either. I expect this to be a blowout, and if Kentucky's defense plays like they did against Vanderbilt, it could be. I mean, they could drop 50 on them, and I don't know if Kentucky's going to be able to score. So I don't think this one's going to be very pretty. But speaking of games that won't be pretty, the next one on our list is Florida and Vanderbilt. And I don't know about you, but I'm not expecting a shootout here or anything close or intense.
We really don't even need to waste any time talking about this game. I mean, Vanderbilt is awful. I don't know why they're in the SEC. They're the embarrassment to the conference, really nationally. Honestly, they might just be a part of the conference for academics at this point. Vanderbilt's not good. Florida's 5-1. They got Kyle Trask. They got a slew of weapons. Even if Pitts doesn't play, really, even if they're starting receivers, all of them don't even play. I'll still have Florida by 50. I just don't understand. Like I said,
don't sugarcoat it, Christian. Tell us how you really feel.
I just don't like Vanderbilt. I'm like, how are they in the ACC? Like, put them in the Big 12, put them in the Big 10. If the AAC has the football teams, put them there. I mean,
so we should switch Vanderbilt with Coastal Carolina in football.
Coastal Carolina might beat them. Is Coastal Carolina right this year?
It's not a match. Coastal Carolina would.
Coastal Carolina would beat Vanderbilt. Riley, you can play for Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I'm not expecting this one to be very close either. Vanderbilt may have got some kind of offense going against Kentucky, but I'd be willing to lean a little more on the side that might have just been a fluke. This one probably not going to be pretty. But not all hope is lost. There are a couple interesting games on the slate this week. The next one we're going to talk about is LSU and Arkansas. And this is kind of a contrast. Arkansas is a team on the rise. LSU is a team that is, not living up to expectations. They lost a lot from last year. So, they're going through two completely different phases right now. So, Christian, who do you have taking this one?
This is going to be a close one. This is going to be a really, really interesting game to watch. I have Arkansas win this game 38-35. Simply because I believe Arkansas showed me a lot in their blowout loss versus Florida. And I know how that sounds. They got blew out versus Florida, but it's because Felipe Franks was still able to be accurate even though he injured his hand. The offense was still able to gain some traction, putting up, I think, like 35 points against Florida. So Arkansas is a very resilient team. They really listen to their coach. They seem like they're bought in. And really, I'm not sold on LSU's quarterback. They have Miles Brennan, who was an absolute stud, but he got hurt early on the season, and they replaced him with a freshman, TJ Finley. And Finley played well in his first start, but it's clear that he was not ready to be the full-time starter for LSU. That's not his fault. He's just a freshman, but I'm just not sold on him. The defense can't stop anybody, and that's my real beef for LSU. The defense is awful. And I know they lost a lot of players to the NFL, but LSU loses a lot of players to the NFL year in and year out. But it seems like, LSU just can't stop a piece of tissue for getting past them. It's a joke. They have NFL talent at the defensive side, but the defense is giving up 40-plus points 3 out of 5 games they played this year. So I would take Arkansas a close one, but it's going to be a very good game to watch, Riley.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think Arkansas wins a close game. Where I'm not exactly agreeing with you is you said 38-35. I mentioned it last week when we talked. I said the games that Arkansas has won, they've been close slugfests that have been low scoring. When they hold opponents to lower scores, they normally can Felipe Franks is a good enough game manager to help them win that. Yeah. And like you mentioned, LSU has TJ Finley at quarterback. I think he'll only get better with time. He's just gaining more experience. But I'm not expecting a lot from LSU's offense, and I think Arkansas will game manage more. So I'm thinking Arkansas maybe takes a 23-13 win. I think it's going to be low scoring. I think Arkansas is going to run the ball and stay in control. I think their defense will give LSU enough problems. And I would say 23-13, 23-17, somewhere in there. But I do expect Arkansas to come out victorious.
And the only reason I say it's going to be a high-scoring game because, like I said, LSU can't stop anybody. And I believe, even though Felipe Franks is clearly just a game manager, I still think he had the opportunity to put up points because this defense is bad. And I think Arkansas coming to this game, I feel like you can't come into this game being hesitant. I think you want to be LSU that still is a good team despite their record. You had to come out aggressive. And LSU, even though without Miles Brennan, they still have a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball where they can put up points too. They're talented at the wide receiver position. They have one of the best young tight ends in the conference. So it's like, like I said, like you said, Arkansas does thrive better in the closer games, but because these LSU defense is so porous, yet their offense has potential to put up a lot of points, it can really go either way. But I think we do agree with Arkansas winning the game, though.
Yeah. Yeah, you never know what to expect from the SEC this year. Yeah. Earlier this year, Ed Orgeron called it basketball on grass. So this conference has not been living up to what it normally is, but I do expect a close game that Arkansas wins. I think the next thing we're going to talk about is Tennessee and Auburn, and this is interesting. It's kind of like I said, how the LSU Arkansas, they were kind of in different places. Auburn had a few bumps in the road. They've won a couple back-to-back games. Tennessee has been kind of sliding, but I think both teams need to win about equally as much as the other one. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be fun to watch. But who do you have winning?
I have Auburn winning the game 35-21 on a 4-game losing streak. Tennessee is a really good team in some areas. Like the running backs are very talented. The offensive line is really well, but the quarterback play is lacking. Jahanto, whatever his name is, he's average. 60% complete percentage on the year, six touchdowns, 23 interceptions. It's just mediocre. There's nothing exciting about him when he plays or anything like that. He's really the reason in a lot of ways why the Tennessee offense isn't what it could be. When you're playing against an offensive line that gives you, 15 Mississippi to throw the ball and you still can't make the right read, your team's in trouble. And he's a senior, so there's really no excuse for the way he plays. But like I said, they are a young team. They were up 14-0 on Arkansas, but they were only able to gain 16 yards in the third quarter last week. And like I said, the last 4 games, only 5 first down in the third quarter. So I really have Tennessee losing this game. Think about the fact that, hey, they may start fast, But what happens when the third quarter hits? They're clearly proving out a really good third quarter team. Auburn's defense is good, not great, but against when you're playing against a quarterback like Gerontano, whatever his name is, I mean, you can do anything. You know what I'm saying? Anything is possible having a great game against him. I'm really not sold on Bo Nix. I know we don't really like Bo Nix. 60% completion percentage on the year, very inconsistent. But against Tennessee, I think we'll have a good game.
Yeah, and I said it on this show before in one of the earlier episodes that when Felipe Franks was at Florida, my kind of philosophy with them is I'm never going to be scared of a team with Felipe Franks at quarterback. He's kind of proving me wrong now. I think he's solid, and now that's kind of how I feel about I think it's Garantano. I don't know exactly how to say it, but if he's a quarterback, I'm not scared. Tennessee seemed kind of dangerous at the beginning of the year, and his inconsistencies have kind of made them very one-dimensional on offense. They have a great backfield. They have some great running backs. Their run game is fantastic, but the quarterback position is really hurting them. But I think that's what makes this game interesting, is if Tennessee can start fast so they can get on the board quick, and then their backfield can kind of run the clock out and they can hang on to a lead, they could upset Auburn. So I think a lot of that comes down to Bo Nix. If they get in a hole, can he bring them back? He's another one of those guys that's been a little inconsistent. So I think Tennessee, not only is it, I don't think it's a question of, will they start fast? They have to if they want to win this game. Then they need to start fast. The defense is going to need to make plays. They have to get a lead, and then hopefully their backfield can kind of chew some of the clock and they can hold on to it. Because Auburn is a good team. I don't know if I would describe their offense as explosive. So, I mean, if you get enough of a lead, hopefully they can hold on. But if you can't do that against Arkansas, I don't know. I want Tennessee to be better than they are. I thought they were going to be a really good team this year, and I don't know. This will be a good game. I could see it going either way. I think it depends on how Tennessee starts, but I feel more confident in Auburn winning this game, but I expect it to be close.
Right.
And so I guess if we just keep this trend going, next is Mississippi State at Georgia. And speaking about teams that confuse you with all kinds of different expectations that you might have, Mississippi State is a weird team.
Yeah.
They started the season looking great. KJ Costello looked like the next coming of Peyton Manning. I mean, and then they've fallen off completely. So who knows what to expect against Georgia? Georgia virtually has no offense. Where do you feel, Christian?
Mike, Mississippi State is not a weird team. They're a terrible team. Is having a welcome to SEC type of year. I don't know what he thought, all the trickery, all the foolishness he was going to bring from the Pac-12. That's just not going to work in SEC, buddy. He had everyone fooled like you in week one against LSU. They put up 40 points against LSU, and they showed a glimmer of hope, but I wasn't one of those people that got excited about it. I knew it wasn't going to last too long. That was evident when they scored 2 points against Kentucky, and then Alabama just shut them out for entire 4 quarters. Like I said, the defense is okay. The offense is terrible. I really have no idea what Mike Leach is trying to do. I'm really excited to see Georgia, though, because JT Daniels will earn his first start for Georgia. He was formerly the quarterback at USC. He was a really big-time recruit coming out of high school, played as a true freshman at USC, threw for over 2,000 yards that year, 14 touchdowns. He tore his ACL going to into the 2019 season. But I think JT Daniels is a really good quarterback. He's much better than the quarterback from Mississippi State, I can say the least. And I don't think there's a big drop-off from the starter that got hurt from Georgia to JT Daniels. I believe JT Daniels is a starter, a potential NFL caliber talent at the NFL level. So just give me Georgia 31, Mississippi State 14. I think Mississippi State gets like a wash garbage touchdown at the end of the game, but I'm not really sold on Mississippi State. They're just terrible.
Yeah, I mean, if JT Daniels really can be that good, I mean, quarterback play this year is what separated Georgia from being playing second fiddle to Florida in the East and then being a serious championship contender. Stetson Bennett and DeJuan Mathis were just not cutting it. They're just not playing well at quarterback, but Georgia is very solid virtually everywhere else on the football field. So if he can be good, Georgia's a serious threat and could probably tear apart Mississippi State. KJ Costello was good for a game. I doubt he brings any of that back against Georgia's defense.
Maybe Vanderbilt.
I don't know. Georgia, they got beat pretty bad by Florida, and so now I think they got to remind everyone who they are. And so I think this will be a huge statement game for them. I got Georgia winning by a lot, probably 20, if not more.
Yeah.
And that leads us into the final game, which I am very much hoping actually gets played. I recently read that both Missouri and South Carolina are kind of teetering around 55 scholarship players on their roster. The suggested minimum from the SEC is 53, but I know both teams are trying to play. Mizzou has dealt with, we have some injuries. They have positive tests with COVID, and then there's contact tracing. I mean, they have, just so many things going on that the number of players they have is dwindling down. South Carolina had people opt out, injuries, same thing, positive tests, but both teams want to play. If that game is played, I mean, we might see Jalen Knox playing safety. Who knows what's going to happen? But
right,
I would expect a close game, most likely. How do you feel?
Close game. I'll have Mizzou win this game, 31-24. We might be a little bit biased as we go to Mizzou, but I really think that Mizzou. I think Mizzou's game plan is definitely going to get Roundtree involved. They want to get Roundtree around 20 carries a game at least. Roundtree has proven that he's able to carry the load. I was really excited to see this matchup between Kevin Harris and Larry Roundtree. Kevin Harris is starting running back for South Carolina. He's an absolute monster as well. His last game, he had 25 carries for 240 yards and 5 touchdowns, over 9 yards average per carry. And then we see Roundtree week in and week out. Roundtree is second all-time leading rusher in school history. So this is going to be a ground and pound type of game. Bazelak is a better quarterback than Colin Hill. Colin Hill for South Carolina, he's really cost them. He could arguably cost them the game against Ole Miss last week. He makes very poor decisions. If you put pressure on him, he'll probably turn over the ball. So if I'm a Zoo and I got a guy like Nick Bolton, who's arguably the best linebacker in the country, and I have a good complimentary piece in Devil Nicholson, hey, I'm bringing the house on Colin Hill because I'm going to put 8-9 guys in the box. Colin Hill's not going to beat you. He really has no hope in the passing game. So if Mizzou is able to get the established run game and really get Colin Hill and force Colin Hill to beat them, I think they'll be able to win this game.
Yeah, I believe Coach Drink said that Mizzou has a couple offensive linemen practicing at the defensive line. So we can bring the house. I don't know who exactly that'll be. I mean, I might be out there trying to get a sack. Who knows what's going to happen?
Stop it.
But I think I like what you said about the running back duel. I think we're going to have a good old-fashioned game. We're going to have two teams trying to establish a run game. And I think, if Roundtree can really get going, then that might allow Bazelak to just fly free. Yeah. And I'm interested to see what Drink is going to do with the playbook. It's shifted so much week to week. He's like to do some flea flickers. I mean, to start every game, it feels like. So I'm wondering what we're going to see. He's had a while now to kind of put something together for this game because the Georgia game was postponed. So I don't know what we're going to see from Missouri. I'm hoping to see a lot of points on the board. I like watching that offense whenever they're really clicking. And like you said, I hope Nick Bolton and company and everyone can really put on a show. Yeah. I don't want to be biased, but I would pick Missouri to win this game. I believe South Carolina's 2 starting cornerbacks either opted out or transferred or injured.
They declared for the draft. I think they're one of their best corner declared for the draft this week.
Yeah, I think they had another corner that's injured or something. They have a lot going on right now, and their head coach just got fired. Yeah. So I would expect, just with everything going on in South Carolina, that Missouri wins the Battle of Columbia this year.
Yeah.
But and now there would have been one other game this week, I believe, Texas A&M and Ole Miss, but that was postponed. So it's the second consecutive week for A&M that they've had a game postponed. Mm-hmm. How is that going to affect A&M and possibly their playoff hope, sitting in number 5 right now?
Yeah, this is devastating for A&M. Second consecutive week in a row where they're supposed to play a game and it gets postponed due to COVID. Another missed opportunity to show that they're one of the top 4 teams in the country. Their only loss on the season, because they're sitting at 5-1 right now, ranked number 5 in the country. Their only loss on the season came against Alabama, which was a bad loss as far as score-wise. I think it was like 52-24 in that loss, but only one loss. But currently sitting right now, Alabama, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Clemson are all ahead of Texas A&M. I'm sorry. So it's just like when you have those 4 teams ahead of you, you really need Alabama to lose 2 more games, possibly. You need Notre Dame to lose 2 more games. You need Ohio State to lose 2 games in Big Ten play. You need Clemson to somehow lose another game in the ACC conference play. So you really need a lot for that to happen, even if you were playing. But for you not to be able to play some of your games makes it even harder for the committee to be like, okay, we feel comfortable with them being the top 4 team in the country. So it's absolutely devastating for Texas A&M not to be able to play for 2 weeks in a row. They were on the road. Kellen Mond looked like, he could be a first-round talent at quarterback position, and he's been able to be his momentum has been stymied by this. So it's kind of unfortunate for Texas A&M.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's devastating. We mentioned a lot just the momentum. They were putting up a ton of points, and you always just want to keep that going. And I mean, I my biggest question is, does it affect their playoff hopes? Like you said, Alabama would have to lose twice, maybe.
Twice,
I
maybe
think,
three times.
maybe Alabama loses once and then beats Florida in the SEC championship, and that knocks Florida down a peg, and then maybe Clemson just throttles Notre Dame and they lose another game. There'd have to be a lot of moving and shifting to get
A lot
A&M
of
in
ifs.
there,
A lot of ifs.
but it's, I mean, obviously, if you're A&M, you want to be on the field. I feel like this is a team that has a lot to prove. I think they were overlooked last year because they were 8-4, but those 4 losses came to teams that at one point were ranked 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I think that this is just kind of mentally going to take a toll on them. But I guess we'll see what we get whenever they finally do get to play. But
Yeah.
do you think that this affects Ole Miss's momentum in any kind of way?
Yes, yes. Ole Miss has came off 2 straight wins. Offense has put up over 50 plus in the last 2 games. Elijah Moore was putting together really a Heisman resume. If he was on a better team as far as win-loss record, Elijah Moore is a very, very talented receiver. Had over 200 receiving yards last week against South Carolina. They put everybody and their grandmother on his side of the field. He still was able to rack up 200 yards receiving and really make plays. But my question to you is, who would you rather have, Elijah Moore, Devontae Smith, and why?
I think Devontae Smith, and it's not close. I just think
Wow, not close.
what he does on the field is incredible, and I mean, the type of numbers he's put up this year are stupid, and he's been doing it all year. And I mean, I think as college receivers, it'd be close. I think if you're an NFL scout, you've got to go Smith. I mean, especially with the history of Alabama receivers,
But Smith has played against Waddle for half the season. Like Waddle's played across the field from him for half the season as well, though. So like if Elijah Moore and Jalen Waddle was on the same team, what would Elijah Moore's number look like? You know what I'm saying? Because they're able to put, 2 or 3 guys on Elijah Moore pretty much every play defensively. You know what I'm saying? Versus Smith is, you can't double Smith because even though Jalen Waddle goes down, I still have Michi. I still have this wide receiver. Alabama has a slew of talented wide receivers versus Ole Miss has Elijah Moore.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a fair argument. Obviously, they're both very talented receivers. They're both great. They're both probably going to be very good at the next level, and they're both putting up insane numbers.
Yeah.
But I guess now we're talking about all these players, we could probably go into what we were going to kind of close out the show with today. And that was, if you saw last Saturday, we did our players of the week. And so this week, we thought maybe we'd do our predictions for player of the week. So Saturday night, we can see how we feel, see if we have the same player of the week, see what's changed. But I guess you can open it first. Who are you predicting to be your player of the week this weekend?
Yes, sir. So my player of the week prediction is Najee Harris. Kentucky defense is really good. So I don't think that the Crimson Tide will come out trying to throw the ball 35, 40 times. I think that they will try to establish a run. I don't think that, like I said, Kentucky has a veteran defense, a lot of seniors, so they know what they're doing. Top 20 nationally defensively. So I think, Nick Saban's going to really get on Sarkisian to, hey, let's establish a run. Let's get, Harris 15, 20 carries. But in the games that we've seen Harris get 20, 25 carries, he's put up, 100-plus yards and a couple of touchdowns. He's a low back, kind of like the poor man's version of Derrick Henry, which is great because you see what Derrick Henry does in the NFL. So Harris is extremely talented, is a great, and what he does better actually than Derrick Henry is, Najee Harris is a great option outside the backfield. He can catch the ball and make a couple guys miss and turn, a 5-yard catch into a 15, 20-yard catch. So not only is he a great down-the-hill runner, he's a great pass catcher. So going against Kentucky, going against a veteran defense, I think Harris will be called upon to really establish a run, get about 20 carries, catch about 5 or 6 balls. So I'm really expecting a monster game from Harris this week.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to stick with you in the realm of running backs, and you can call me biased for this one if you want, but I just think given the circumstances, I'm predicting a big week out of Larry Roundtree.
That's so biased, bro. You can't pick a Mizzou player. Are you serious?
Yeah, I can. Given the circumstances and everything South Carolina is going through.
So biased.
No, given the circumstances and everything South Carolina is going through, what they're missing on defense, their head coach just got fired. I think Mizzou is going to control that game. I think Larry Roundtree is probably going to get 20 or more carries. I think we'll have over 100 yards. And if our run game was working like that, he might even punch in a couple touchdowns. So I just think numbers-wise, Larry Roundtree is probably going to have a big day.
Yeah.
Nick Bolton on the other side of the field might. I think we could be confident in any running back. I think Eric Gray could also have a huge game for Tennessee if they can run the offense they want to against Auburn. And like you said, South Carolina's running back, he could turn around and have a huge game on us too.
Yeah.
I think that there's and then there's also White for Georgia, their running back, who might go off against Mississippi State. So watch the running backs this week.
Yeah.
I guess if you ask us, the two biggest games we're expecting are Najee Harris and Larry Roundtree, but they might all have huge games. There's a lot of good backs in the conference right now.
I agree.
All right, but that's everything that we had to talk about today. So I guess make sure you watch some of these games this weekend. There's going to be some close ones. There's going to be some that are not so close. Vanderbilt. But I guess we'll be ready to see you guys Saturday night to talk about everything. Are there any closing thoughts that you have, Christian?
Man, don't bring up Vanderbilt again. We're gonna just call them. They don't even deserve to be called Vanderbilt. I don't want to say it no more.
We're just gonna start covering Coastal Carolina games on this show instead of whatever Vanderbilt's doing.
Stop Vanderbilt. Stop.
All right. Well, I believe that's all we have. So thank you to everyone who came out and watched. And I guess we will see you guys on Saturday. Thank you for listening.